What lurks behind its unassuming Cleveland, Ohio. It's the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. Welcome back to the Buckland Museum Frankenstein Radio Control Room, where every once in a while I break out of my shell to interview someone that somehow has something to do with our establishment, the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic, from the proud city of Cleveland, Ohio. We're hoping that all of you are very safe right now during this devastating plague that's spreading around. There was some good news today where the curve seems to be flattening, so keep up the good work, everyone. I have been keeping myself occupied by every day I come to the museum and I see something that probably doesn't need to be fixed, and I figure out a way to fix it. So I've been doing that. I've been working on some displays, fixing up the gift shop. So it's looking good, but I'm really looking forward to opening it up again someday. Everyone that's going to plan on tuning in tomorrow, we're going to go live with Lilith Dorsey, a voodoo priestess, and it should be a pretty fascinating discussion about her new book, Orishas, Goddesses, and Voodoo Queens, and that is at 11 a.m. It's been a while since I've risen this early, but you know what? In these times, we all have to do our part, right? But anyway, right now we're living for the moment and the night. So here we have Rik Garrett, photographer of the Esoteric, joining us from the west coast of the United States, probably located in some undisclosed location. At least I'm hoping so. Safely tucked away with his wonderful partner, Jane. I first found Rik about 8 years ago, I'm guessing, and I immediately became a huge fan of his work. His photography techniques are mind-melting. His taste is impeccable. And we were very lucky to host him at the museum last year for his lecture, The Latent Image, where he explores the history of the occult in photography. And that was loosely in collaboration with our friends at the Cleveland Photo Fest. And I'm really looking forward to working with them again this year. So anyway, welcome, Rik. How's it going?
Good. I was about pretty well over here, all things considered. Thank you for having me.
So you look like you're in a comfortable setting there.
I am. I'm at home.
Which is and you probably don't leave there quite often.
Right now, definitely not. Right now, my wife and I have just been at home.
And how's that going? What do you do to occupy your time?
Things have been going well. I've been right now focusing a little bit on some photography projects, some things that I can't talk about too much yet, but
awesome.
A little bit of writing and preparing for a new video of my video series Spectralities. So we can, right there, we can talk about that a little bit. And it's
so tell us about Spectralities.
Well, it is a much neglected video series that I started about 4 years ago. So started 4 years ago, and this will be the third episode. So whatever that tells you about how spread out they've gotten. But this is one that I'm really excited about because some of the first ones were kind of basics. The second episode was about William Mumler, a spirit photographer who used his camera to take photographs of spirits you couldn't see. So it was like the camera was this tool in that way. The photographer almost acted kind of like the medium. Now we've changed. We go on to the spirit of Katie King, who was very popular in the lecture I gave at the Buckland Museum, because now suddenly we have a scientist using a camera as a scientific apparatus to document a spirit that fully materialized physically that everybody could see. So totally different role of the camera there. And Katie King is this real prankster kind of spirit that shows up, and I'm hoping to get that recorded and uploaded soon here. I've been putting the final touches on my research.
That sounds excellent. So I thought we should start off talking about kind of what brought you to my attention, and that would be this right here, Earth Magic. Can you tell us a bit about the Earth Magic series?
Yeah, definitely. That is a series I started 10 years ago this summer. And basically it's me using the wet plate collodion process, so the same photography process they were using in Civil War era, where you coat a piece of glass with photosensitive materials, basically, long story short. Take a photograph, and you have to basically prepare your plate, take a photograph, develop it all right there on the spot within a matter of, a few minutes. So it's this really involved old style process. And I was kind of just like documenting this idea of this kind of like outdoor wilderness witchcraft, kind of this like, so much of witchcraft, there's kind of this imaginary outsiderness, otherness, and kind of outside of history kind of thing. So it's me trying to document that. And like you should have that book that got to be published by Fulgur, and they did such an amazing, beautiful job of it.
So we do have a print from the series here in the museum, and I always love showing it because the way I describe it is you're trying to like capture pretty much the most primal energies, right? But using like the most primal photography techniques at the same time. So it's really like whittling everything away. So was this something that you did all in one day, or was this like a series that took a while for you to create?
Well, it was almost the opposite, because it was a series that took, I want to say, 4 years, all like in the summer, basically summer, autumn, mainly. Okay, more autumn time, out in Chicago where I lived at the time, and it would be this whole event. Like taking these photographs was a real event, because it's like loading up a cart full of chemistry, like ether and alcohol and glass plates and a 100-year-old camera and a portable darkroom made of a cardboard box, and just like trekking out to the woods from Chicago, and then get all the way out there, load everything up, have people I'm photographing, and then maybe all that, and you take like somebody doing digital photography might take hundreds of photographs. I might take 5 over the, like all that, and then come back and all that. And, not all of them are going to be like included in the book or something, there's still after that. So it was 4 summers and like 4 seasons, I guess.
So I have an example of one of the photos right here. Can you kind of tell us what's happening in the shot here?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, I keep saying summers, but they were all taken like pretty much in the autumn. And so that was, really those photos were all taken, like I said, set up, get everything ready. And then it would be, the person who's like the model, the person who's being photographed, kind of getting to a location and working with the scene, and kind of just seeing what's there, what's in this space, what can be done here, what, real kind of an improv feel. On this is a day actually that it was November. It was very cold. I think after going all the way out to the woods from Chicago, there were 5 photographs taken. So, and this was like one instance where all 5 were really great. It was just, it happened to work out that way. It was really, really nice. And then this actual photograph ended up, I did a limited edition of darkroom prints from the original glass plate negative, and this was included in the publisher Fulgur did a show called Image, and so there were prints of that in that show. Oh, you're muted, or I can't hear you. One or the other.
Sorry about that. So we just got a cool comment here from Jennifer Parsons. I wonder if she's related to Jack. Hello, and thank you for doing this. Yeah, it's absolutely our pleasure. How you doing, Jennifer? Hope everything's going well. I think she's in the Chicagoland area, which brings me to this here. Can you tell me a little bit about this guy right here?
Yeah, that's my wife, Jane, with Michael Bertio, who we're both very fond of. And we were lucky enough when we lived in Chicago to regularly attend his Occult Film Society once a month. They show a film at the Occult bookstore in Chicago, and beyond like reading his book, like the Voodoo Gnostic Workbook. And hi, I still consider myself a Chicagoan, even though I don't live there anymore in some ways. So yeah, Michael Berdio, really fond of him. And we would go to his film society, and even though we lived in Chicago, we would send letters back and forth with him because that's kind of his preferred method of communication. And he's a rich source of occult knowledge and other knowledge. Oh, you're silent again.
Sorry, I was opening a beer. So yeah, the thing about Bertio is he's just like talking to him. Just the rush of information that comes out of his mouth. All solid stuff. You know, just off the cuff. He's in his mid 80s and it's still, you know, he's probably spouting stuff that he hadn't thought about for 20 years, you know, like when you're talking about him. And it's all really deep in there. We have some Bertio pieces here in the collection, and I just it's really hard to describe the awe that one gets when you're hanging around with Big Mike. Yeah. So yeah,
we have a golem he painted. I don't know if you can tell, but it's about 7 feet tall over there. He lives in the corner. He watches over our home. We have a few of his magically charged pieces.
That's fantastic. Did I show you my golem triptych? I don't know if I showed it.
Yeah,
I did. So. Okay, that comes with the little grimoire that he wrote. It's
I don't know. You showed us a few things. Like
yeah. Well, we're hoping to have a major Bertio show here in the future, but you know with my corona, everything's a little bit up in the air. So Jessica Papineau says, great to see you live. Well, it's great to hear from you. Thank you. So, all right. So we go from Mike here to what is going on in this picture right here.
Okay, well, that is a little project I've been kind of working on the side. And that was, this is inspired. This is a handmade book that I'm kind of still in the testing process of, and I was inspired by a few things. One of them that I think we might talk about a little bit more later, but one is kind of like the mythology of Hollow Earth in different religions, different cults, different belief systems about the center of the earth being hollow, and like information, knowledge, life coming from the center of the earth. And I'd been thinking about that and kind of working on different art projects about that. And then I decided I kind of want to make a book about it because that's how I work out my ideas, is I like to make handmade books. And then I was reading the historical grimoire, Grimorium Verum. I have to quote this because at the very end of one of the translations of the book, this is really fun. There's like all these different books. Like, if you like this book, here's some other magical books you should read. And it talks about different grimoires, you know, like the Black Owl and the Treasure of the Old Man of the Pyramids. But then at the very end, it says, there's another work of which I do not know the title, but which is known to be very rare and invaluable. I only know that it's made with gray paper and that the layers hold 2 by 2, printed on one side only because the paper is very thin and the letters can be seen behind. And basically the author says, if you find out what this book is, you should tell me. And I thought that was really fun. And I don't know if anybody has any clue what the author, the translator, if they know what that book is. But so I decided I wanted to make that book. So I took this paper, and it is very thin. That's kind of like the backside. You can see through it. And I stained the paper. And then I'm kind of like impressing text and images onto the pages, and doing that kind of with this theme of the Hollow Earth lore and mythos, and kind of making my own book.
That is really cool. I hope maybe someday we might be able to show that here at the museum.
Oh, that would be an excellent plan. That means I have to finish it. So
Yeah. Well,
I need motivation. I need excuses sometimes. So I
yeah.
sing. But yeah, those are some of the pages.
That's so cool. So, what is the process? How do you transfer it on there?
This is actually that might
You don't
come
have to give away your secrets.
you know, some things, but maybe. But this is actually this is kind of like a punk zine background because this is me making photocopies of things like my own photographs, found photos, found text, and then just with the photocopies, using solvent to transfer the photocopies onto the pages.
Oh, cool.
So it's on there.
Awesome. So, I think next we should probably talk about this because this is a recent thing that you've been doing here, and I am always completely floored by your work, Rick. But when I saw this, I was just like, "What is going on? This is amazing!" So, can you please tell us what is going on?
So what that is, first of all, I mean, I guess I never really said that I do everything analog, right? Like I'm real into just kind of like darkroom processes, things like that. And so what that is me making a print in the darkroom, and then there's this process whose name is in French, and I don't speak French, but it's something along the lines of mordancage. And basically, you take a print that you did a great job on, and it looks nice, and then you destroy it by putting in this solution of like a copper and peroxide and acetic acid, and you just like basically dissolve the surface, and then you put it in the developer again, and then you dissolve it again, and you redevelop it, and weird shit happens. You can't predict it. Some parts bubble up, some parts, oh, I should watch my language. Some parts bubble up, some parts float away, some parts turn into these little veils, and it's just really not predictable. And I think that's pretty fun. So that one that you showed is actually, that got sent to San Diego for a art show that was going to happen at like a tattoo shop art studio called Left Hand Black, but that's not happening right now. So those are lying in wait there. But you know, I've been doing kind of some of these, and they're just like fun things to do where
Wow,
you don't know what's going to
those
happen.
are cool.
It's unpredictable. Like here's another kind of iteration of that one that you showed. Let's see.
Right.
Where I didn't like overdo it as much, but it just kind of gets these weird bubbly artifact things going on. But yeah, they're just something fun, and it kind of, I don't know, it gives this impression kind of like spiritly, ghostly, but it's also just all just like in the process, and something I have. It's good to let go of stuff, I guess, the control, because this just does what it wants to do for the most part.
Right, where you kind of have to have faith that it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So, I want to ask you about your self-portraits here. I see this right here. What's going on in this photo, Rick?
That's me. That was my birthday portrait last year, I want to say. Actually, I was kind of inspired. I'll be totally honest. Have you ever seen a movie called Baba Yaga?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like I think it's based on a Guido Crepax comic. And there's the photographer, and she's got this. There's like stuff about a little doll in bondage gear, and there's like other stuff. But you know, so that was me. I was like, for my birthday, I want to be like that kind of a character, and just kind of like play with some gender things and play with some other stuff. And so that was just like my birthday self-portrait. Oh, I lost your sound again.
Yeah, you really capture the look. It's I think I had that haircut when I was probably about 19 years old. I cut off my bangs, and that that's where I was at when I was 19 years old. So
you had the Baba Yaga haircut.
yeah, I did. Oh, no, it's very cool. It's a very striking photo, and I remember when that popped up on like probably my Instagram feed. I was just like, "What is going on here?" It's very, very interesting. So, along with your interest in esoteric photography, you're also into experience, and I was hoping that you could kind of explain this place right here to us.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to. That was tying in with the stuff I was saying about Hollow Earth and kind of this fixation. Like everybody who gets into this idea of a Hollow Earth thing kind of gets obsessed with it. It just like takes over. And one of the folks who that happened to was a guy by the name of John Cleves Sims, and he really he put out a book about the interior of the Earth being hollow, and really was like a pushing for this. And so when my wife and I came out to visit the Buckland Museum, said, "Oh, what else is in Ohio?" Said, "Oh, there's the monument for John Cleves Sims. That's like his grave marker is this hollow earth." So we drove out, and it was really actually amazing to see because there's stuff named after him in town. What I'm forgetting the name of the town it's in, but there's stuff named after him. So he wasn't just like this total nut who was pushing it out there. Like he was a member of the community. He was a member of the society there, and was
Any kind of advice that I want to give to aspiring nuts is, go out there and be part of your community, because
civic duty.
You may name a road after you at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Civic duty, like tie that in. And I actually did a print because I took film photographs there. So I did a print, using that same process that we were.
Oh, that's cool.
And this real kind of the thing of it. But
so where is this monument?
It's somewhere in Ohio. I can't remember the name of the town off the top of my head, but and there's like not really much else there. It's like in the middle of a park. They had to build a little fence around it to keep people from vandalizing it.
Really?
Yeah. But it's like you're right next to like a big toy or a playground or something, and then there's like this hollow earth monument of the life of John Cleves Sims and like a little tiny fence around it.
Oh, how cool. All right. So that brings us to what is happening here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So with my interest in kind of like the history of photographic processes used to document the occult or the invisible or the spiritual, things like that. So there was the process of Kirlian photography that was invented by Simeon and Valentina Kirlian, and oh hey, somebody's motorcycle set off my car alarm here. Let's go. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay, that was bound to happen. So quick detour. So hey Charlie. So basically, they invented this process using electricity to visualize the human aura, right? To photograph a human aura, but it's really limited. So normally, what I say is something where you could get like a fingerprint, or you could get, people do a leaf, a fingerprint, things like that, to use electricity to illuminate and document on a one-to-one basis an aura of something. And I love that, of course. And so I wanted to start playing with that. And then like I tend to do, I just kind of wanted to push it to the ultimate limit. So what I did was I tinkered with the process to make these full body scrolls. So that is a portion there of a scroll that's 9-10 feet tall on photographic paper, color photographic paper. So using electricity, taking a full body photograph, basically contact human body in the dark with this electrical discharge, and then develop that photographic paper until it's this great big long 9-10 foot long one of a kind photograph. And I finally get to show those. Those had been something I'd done for a few years and then not really had an opportunity to show. Finally got to show those at Mortlake and Company in Seattle, which if anybody is in Seattle, they definitely need to go there once all this lifts, because run by William Kiesel, Ouroboros Press. And there's like amazing bookstore gallery, art gallery there. So I finally got to show these one of a kind aura photographs that were kind of like me pushing the limits with this process.
Yeah, I have to say that Mortlake and Company is definitely someplace I'd like to make a pilgrimage to sometime. It sounds pretty fantastic. So here is some examples of other kind of Kirlian photography, but you do it at such a large scale. That's so cool. It's
Yeah.
where did you get your chops? How did you learn how to be a photographer?
How did I learn how to be just like a photographer in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, my mom was a photographer. And when I was young, when I was a kid, and actually this is like a shout out to my mom. It's my mom's birthday today. But my mom always had an interest in photography. And
Happy birthday, Mom.
yeah. And she kind of started learning more about photography when I was fairly young, and ended up actually putting a darkroom next to my bedroom when I was a kid. And so she did that. She got better. She ended up opening a photography studio in the basement of our home before she kind of moved it out. So she had a portrait studio for a while. And so that was a big influence, obviously. And then once I kind of proved myself a little bit, she let me play around and actually just kind of like do stuff in the darkroom when I was young. So that was my main intro to photography.
Very cool. So our tarot reader, Elias, you probably remember him. He says Kirlian photos can be cool AF. He didn't, it is puritanical times that we're living in. So, and Ryan Boyle says amazing photos. But my favorite message so far has been from Jillian saying, I see a day trip in our future. And I'm like, yeah, I think we got to go check out the Hollow Earth guy.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're kind of coming to the end here, but there is one photo I really love of you and Jane.
Oh, yeah.
It is this one right here, taken by Herb Asherman Jr., a Cleveland photographer. And it was taken here. I'm pretty much looking in the same direction that you would be standing right now. It's been rearranged a bit since the COVID slowdown. I painted that white wall black, but yeah, it's kind of the same. Always the same, kind of different, like that band The Fall. But yeah, I thought this was a really cool photo, and Herb pretty much used the same technique that you used for the Earth Magic series, right?
Well, same. I mean, he used film, where with Earth Magic, I used glass plates.
Okay.
So with Earth Magic, I actually had to like prepare a piece of glass and develop it right there, like on the spot, where he was able to use film. But yeah, he used a large format camera. You say he used a 8x10 camera, and it was so nice. He came to the lecture, the talk I gave there, the museum, and insisted that we come back the next day and let him take our photograph. So that was a lot of fun. I mean, on that side, I was a little uncomfortable. I was a little weirded out. I had to warm up to it.
Well, because you're pretty much always on the other side of the lens, right?
Yeah. So except, I mean, you showed a self-portrait, but that's different. So it was fun. It was a fun opportunity. It was nice to meet Herb and do that there. And it gave us another excuse to come back to the museum.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope right. I hope that we can reopen to the public again someday,
Yeah,
and we can have you back out here because
love it.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, love it.
Being a huge admirer of your work, it was very nice to you know have you out here.
Yeah, it was so nice.
Yeah. So, Rick, it's about 8:30. I know that you have a date here with somebody that we mentioned earlier in our conversation. So we should probably wrap up. But thank you, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and this is a fun opportunity and nice to everybody kind of work together and do some things to try to keep everybody's interest up and brains working and stuff while
Yeah,
everybody's in isolation.
I think that's really the most important thing. It is, we could just sit around and just feel like, I don't know, let's just eat pizza and
Yeah,
just binge watch Netflix for the next, which I guess I really don't have a problem with because you got to do what you have to do to keep yourself sane right now. But at least try to do something. People are tempted where they're like, oh, I have to take this opportunity to do this and do that and do this and do that. But I mean, maybe take an opportunity to just hang out with yourself a little bit, kind of see where your head is at.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm rambling, but when I don't get out of bed before 11 o'clock in the morning, I don't really feel bad, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
You luckily still have a gig that you're going to, and I assume that Jane does too. So that's great. So, yeah, I guess this is it. Thank you so much, and for all the people out there in live stream land, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. It's going to be coffee time with Stephen and Lilith, I think. Voodoo Priestess Lilith Dorsey is going to be joining me. We're going to talk about her new book, and I'm pretty excited about that. I got a copy of it, and I tore through it pretty fast, and it should be really a pretty good conversation. So thank you so much for tuning in. And how do I get back to this part here? So any final words, Rick? Anything that you want to say to the world?
I just want to thank you and Buckland Museum for having me and given that opportunity, and thanks to everybody who actually listened. So really, really nice of you to spend your evening with all of us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really, really appreciate that. And we have a message from Jennifer Parsons saying, "Yay, Lilith D." So yeah, I'm glad somebody else is excited as I am. So cool. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for everybody tuning in. See you tomorrow. Peace out.